In this week's edition of Authors Revealed, our own Becky Anderson sits down with New York Times best-selling author Joe Hill. In his new book, Nosferatu, the master of horror writes about a man in his car that kidnaps kids and takes them to a terrifying place called Christmasland. And Hill has a dad who's been known to write a frightening read or two of his own.
Welcome to Authors Revealed. I'm Becky Anderson. One of my favorite authors is here. It's Joe Hill, New York Times bestselling author with his new book, Nosferatu. If you love horror, you'll love this one. So Joe, with this new book out, what are you hearing from all your fans? Because the book has only been out for about a week, and you do have a lot of fans who follow you.
Well, I'm very relieved because people seem to be having a lot of fun with it. I think, you know, the book is called NOS 4A2, which is the bad guy's vanity license plate. And if you sound it out, it spells Nosferatu. And it is about a bad man with this car that runs on human souls. And he takes his passengers, usually children, and he drives them to this nightmarish amusement park called Christmasland. And so there is, even though it's not a Christmas book, there is a lot of stuff about how demented and frightening Christmas songs are when you hear them at the wrong time of the year and everything. I do think I tapped into something there that other people clearly share my abhorrence for a certain kind of Christmas music.
Has it been difficult for you when people have found out that you are Stephen King's son and Tabitha King's son, you know, using part of your middle name, Hill, you know, was it difficult for you when you tried to get that first book published?
Right. When I was in college, you know, I began to think if I wrote as Joseph King, that might not be such a good plan for me. It seemed to me that there would be the risk that someone might decide to publish one of my books because they saw a chance to make a quick buck on the family name. But as Joe Hill, no one knew who I was, no one knew anything about my family, and I could write whatever I wanted. And so I did. And then eventually, it took about a decade, but eventually I broke through with a book of short stories, which I sold to a guy who knew nothing about my family, and then I was off and running.
And what are you working on now and that we can hope to see pretty soon?
I'm working on a novel now called The Fireman, which is about 2/3 done, and I'll probably finish it after the book tour is done, maybe out in 2014, 2015, I don't know.
Wow, if you love horror, you're going to love this book by Joe Hill, New York Times bestselling author of Nosferatu. Back to you, Jen.
Thanks, Becky. If you're interested in the full interview with Joe Hill, visit nctv17.com for a list of airtimes.